Ladies and gentlemen, denizens of the internet, welcome back to the Deplorable Batcave, your one-stop shop for degeneracy and all things internet related. I'm your host, Spartacus Ryuo, and joining me once again are our questionable panelists. From my left to my right, let me introduce you to Ice and Fire.
I gotta say, I'm excited for that new Crunchyroll show.
Blippity Blob.
Hello.
See what?
You got us wrong. We're not degenerates. We're deplorables. There's a difference.
Says you. Kaleb.
Yay, hello. I'm just here for the diversity quota. What up?
Shh, don't tell them that.
Get back in the van.
Oh, no.
Speaking of the van, Gimpy.
From the Peanut Gallery.
Hey, he's typing hello.
And, of course, we have AK-47, your face.
Evening, folks. I'm sorry for the terrible mic quality, apparently.
All right, folks, we've actually got a laundry list of topics we can go through, but let's start off.
Salty Santiago! Salty Santiago!
Yeah, we're gonna start light. We're gonna start with something we can all enjoy before we get into the meat and potatoes here. We're gonna start off with As Blasted and Alejandro, the pissed off Pedro himself, Angry Joe.
Max to Vicente.
Okay, so I'm going to be honest. I'm a little bit out of the loop on this one. I watched his video, and it didn't seem like anything was too egregious, but everybody started just, like, roasting the shit out of him. Is there something I missed in what he said?
Well,
Yes.
Part of it was not just the video where he kind of, makes kind of false equivalencies, but on top of that, there were comments being deleted on the channel that were responding to him. He claims he wasn't aware that he has a moderator for his channel. Take that as you will. On top of that, he's just running his mouth on Facebook about it. And
Okay,
on
so
Twitter.
this is Facebook and shit. Okay.
Facebook and Twitter.
Also, don't remember...
Wait, Spot. What about on his YouTube video itself?
Well, there's a video itself where he's making making massive amounts of apologia for
What
no
about
real reason.
shitting on people as well?
Well, there is that.
Saying
But
he watched
most of
videos-
most of it was
Shit on our boy.
Yeah.
most of it was apologia for why is this game? Well, the real reason it's not going to do well is because it's being released at the same time as two of the most anticipated games of the year.
Look, here's the problem with that theory. This game is a Battlefield game, World War II era. We haven't had one of those in, 8, 9 years? Minimum? And they
Actually,
were the
well-
kings of World War II games?
The thing about this is that this shouldn't affect pre-order sales, since you could pay for the game technically now, months ahead of time before the other games come out, and you'll be dipping into your wallet again then.
Yeah, but it's pre-order to begin with. Anyway, AK, to answer your question, guys, correct me if I'm wrong, but if I remember, within the video, he was trying to excuse the poor pre-order sales on other games that are
That's the
that
apology.
are going to be released ages from now, so it has nothing to do with that. And
Like,
Red Dead
by the time
2.
by the time this game comes out,
Apparently, it's sharing. It's sharing a release window with Call of Duty Black Ops 4 and Red Dead 2.
Okay, so
but the other point, and perhaps a more egregious point, is that it's like, well, anyway, those people who refuse to pre-order, they're all Trump voters anyway. They're all, can't stand the fact that they're women in this game.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that bit.
And somebody dug this up. I don't know how Joe responded to it, but Joe actually made the argument of why the fuck are women in frontline combat roles in World War II? Immersion gone. He made the argument he's arguing against about 2 or 3 years ago.
because he's probably getting that sweet vagina.
Well, no, he's getting the shotguns.
Guys, I don't know how familiar you guys are with Angry Joe. I'll put my cards on the table. I can't.
Well, I used to be a sub.
Same
Okay.
here.
Oh, same.
Spark, I will hopefully one day find it in my heart to forgive you for that.
Well, I'm not the only.
Yeah, I said I am.
Same here. There are three of
I
us
said
minimum.
you're unforgivable.
I was.
I wasn't.
But,
I wasn't.
So back in the day, with the whole channel Awesome being amongst the most popular channels,
Yeah.
He was only loosely affiliated with Channel Awesome. He kind of split off to do his own thing.
he was practically butt buddies with Noah Antweiler.
Yeah.
But if any of you guys cast your minds back to the launch of Elder Scrolls Online, particularly the sort of the beta period,
Yeah, he was
almost
very, very.
single-handedly destroyed it, thanks to his angry army.
How? Why?
Well, his word is taken as gospel.
Hmm.
No matter how uninformed and quote-unquote articulate.
well, if I may, I'd like. All right, so a couple of things. First, I have to honestly ask this: is anyone here a Battlefield fan?
Nope.
Nah.
I used to play 1942, but and Battlefield 2, but that's kind of where it ended for me. I think I played Bad Company 2 one time as a rental.
Yeah, most people here aren't Battlefield. I think I'm the only one. And if I'm sorry, go on, Caleb.
No. Bad Company 1 was the last one I played, so
Yeah.
it's been a while.
I mean, I played 3 a little bit, but that's not saying much.
I picked up a Bad Company 2, played 3, I played 4, I skipped Hardline because Hardline sucks. I played 1, and I'm going to say this as someone who's been part of the Battlefield franchise now as it's seen, I would say honestly probably it hit one of its many peaks in Battlefield 2, but it peaked again even harder in Battlefield 3 and Bad Company 2. And those were the two games where it really found its own. And ever since, what we've seen in Battlefield 4 and Hardline and 1 and now in 5, we are seeing in large part that the game is being watered down. It's becoming a lot more arcadey than people are comfortable with. And yeah, it's an arcade shooter at heart, but the thing is that a lot of it was less to do with that and more to do with, the sort of tactical realism shit people like. And I like it too. And the problem is that in large part, that's probably what's driving people away who are Battlefield fans, who are just Battlefield fans, but amongst the Gamergate crowd, I will totally freely admit that those of us who are part of that movement, we are dropping that game like a bad habit because of the fact that it's being completely bullshit and pandering for no good reason.
Look, I'm going to go back to Battlefield 1942. There was a mission you could do that was what they could approximate the Blitz of London. There was no ground combat. It was all air combat in a game that's supposed to be a shooter. There was combined arms. Hell, there was a story of a buddy of mine taking down a goddamn aircraft with a tank. The main gun.
Yeah, and that stuff still exists in the other games as well.
Yeah. But this is the game that pioneered it. This is the game that made it popular.
Can I make a point? So it's all right to have arcadey stuff.
Yeah.
People like that. It's okay to have over the top stuff. Hell,
Yeah.
I think most of us here played various iterations of the Wolfenstein series at one point or another.
Actually, I've not touched
But
Wolfenstein.
say it again.
I've never touched a Wolfenstein game.
You're dead to me. Anyway,
Okay, I've known of them, but the first one I touched was the quote-unquote reboot.
okay.
Well,
New Order was good. That's the thing. New Order was actually really good.
But the point I'm getting at is that when you arrive at Battlefield 1, which I've never played any of this. I'm not the biggest fan of shooters, to be honest. If any of you have seen Razor's video, he really hit the nail on the head. It's not just that they had to go out of their way with this whole pandering bollocks. Suddenly the Imperial German army is composed entirely of Africans. It's that within the war there were genuine colonial units, many of them.
Not only that, but the Harlem Hellfighters.
Right, but none of that is brought to the fore.
Yeah.
So it's rewriting a history just for the sake of pandering.
When they
And
could have
that's
easily
going
just...
to especially as Ison pointed out, post Gamergate, you're just going to alienate people.
Oh, the Gamergate crowd's alienating entirely.
It's so obvious. There's no subtlety anymore about it.
But the fact that the female soldier in Battlefield 5 is missing an arm.
Okay, and guys, I was trying to make a point earlier, and like I said, in the Gamergate crowd, this is where it's dying entirely because of that. But the thing is that it already seems like even people who don't care about that, and there are a lot who aren't going to get it anyways. They're not pre-ordering in large part because they don't want anyone else to pre-order. The ultimate weakness, not only for shooters but especially for Battlefield, is that if you don't have enough players at the very start of the game, it's dead on arrival. Yeah. That's what happened with Hardline. It's what happened about 2 months into Battlefield 1. The ultimate weakness is that, and that's because the game's getting a lot watered down and people are becoming disinterested in it. Now, again, I'm not going to say that it's not a large part that the game is pandering. In fact, I'd say the pandering to social justice is what's causing is one of the many important factors in the sort of, as I said, watering down of the Battlefield franchise. But I am going to at least take Joe's side and saying that's not the only reason. It's a multiplicity of reasons, and especially as someone who's coming from the fandom of Battlefield, who plays, who has a dedicated squad, plays with his friends. I have many good memories in Battlefield 3 and 4, let me tell you, and 1. It's not everything. And
Ison,
yeah?
I've got a point of contention there. I agree, it's absolutely not everything, but Angry Joe has a huge audience, and if within his video he's knocking down, you hate this game because you're a Trump voting racist
Oh, that's wrong. I'm not saying that's wrong. I'm saying I'm defending at least some of his earlier points, because that was part of the.
If he kept it as early,
video.
If he kept it at the earlier points and didn't touch the other arguments, the video would have been okay. That's interesting, and then been forgotten about. Mm-hmm. It would have been generic. No one would have cared.
If you touch the actual watering down of the technical aspects of the game, like you have the old battlefields, and the appeal to it was that you have this world kind of simulator, and it had more realism than say Call of Duty and the other competitors in the market. And now you have this watered down version, more arcadey, and now you throw out all this pandering, and you have this super strong woman who don't need no man and has no arm and with a katana we're jumping around, and it just kills the essence of what the core Battlefield fan base wanted. You just want your war game. You don't want your pandering.
And not only that, but apparently she is an expert marksman with a bolt-action rifle while crawling backwards on the ground on her back, as well as an expert in the usage of SMGs, pistols, and I think she was even using a machine gun at one point.
That's straight out of Metal Gear, man. Just leave it there.
Kept you waiting.
And a machine, son!
AK, anything you want to add? AK?
Okay, I mute my mic just in case that little monster yips, so I was finding the mute function. I really don't have that much to add. All I can safely say is hopefully this get woke, go broke mentality works, but it seems like there's a good portion of these companies that are willing to, go down with the ship, and it's really, really weird in any sort of capitalism, capitalistic society.
Remember, we're not in a true capitalistic system right now. We are in a corporatistic system where very powerful entities can throw a lot of weight around. But the thing is, those systems rarely last unless an outside force maintains them. I don't see the government stepping in to keep these companies going. Yet. They could step in potentially, but it's very unlikely. And if that were to happen, there would be serious consumer revolt. Not only that, but as these companies start posting more and more losses, they've been countering it by tightening the belt. Like, for example, if you guys remember back to Mass Effect Andromeda, you know how they kind of covered their loss a bit with that? They cut the Andromeda team.
Yeah.
They stripped it down to bare bones. That's how they recouped some of their losses. Companies can only cut down for so long before the stockholders go, hold it. What are you doing? And if the company doesn't give them a good reason, the board's gone, CEO's gone, new team comes in, completely redoes the company. It's just how
EA
companies work.
cannibalizing developers? I've never heard of such a thing.
Yeah.
That's what I thought.
Bioware's dead. It's gonna fail.
It's a
Anthem's
zombie.
gonna kill it.
Yeah, it's a zombie. It's a zombie company now.
Yeah. So to go on to what you were saying, Sewell. So with what happened last week with Doom Eternal. So I thought that we were on the precipice of, yes, the zeitgeist is finally going to change. Companies are going to pull their heads out from their asses and realize that pandering to this bollocks isn't going to make them the moolah.
Well, and that's a good jumping point because we had that.
Sorry.
Well, since that's the next topic anyway, let's slide into that.
Yeah.
Well, let's go to the mirror image of Battlefield 5. Doom.
So I honestly thought that with Cyberpunk that was going to add to it, and they had that opportunity. They could have stuck to their guns, and they caved.
So I have a question. Show hands. Who here is buying Doom Eternal besides me?
You know what? Normally I pirate games like that, but I am now.
Once I get this contract, you can bet your ass I will. So.
I to put it into perspective, I actually got the collector's edition of Doom because of this.
I'm proud of you.
I will probably pick it up when it comes on sale later, but I'm not ordering it yet.
I'm probably going to buy this just because of the mass triggering of that gameplay footage.
Spark.
I just
remember the term demon
challenged.
is an offensive term. Use the term mortally challenged.
Like I said, it's not just that. It looks like fun. It looks like a simple. It harkens back to the era of Blap and I come from. It's like, fuck story. Here's a gun. Demons go.
Exactly,
Well,
my dude.
if I remember right, with the Doom release a couple of years back, there were stories going on, but you had to seek them out.
Well,
It was all
Back in the original Doom, there was a very basic story of sorts,
Yeah.
but to all intents and purposes, it was open up boxes, kill the shits within.
Well, yeah. Back in the day,
Story
you guys
second,
didn't have.
gameplay first.
Well, back in the day, you guys didn't have room for the story on the disc.
Yeah.
I mean, you expect it to be there, but you don't give a shit about it. You just want to kill demons.
Yeah. Story,
pretty much.
story second, game first. That's why people
Well,
like
that-
Dark Souls.
Well, that too. It's probably also because Doom was a big shareware kind of game, and I guess they didn't want to front load the story. Well, maybe they could have, but you didn't want to leave people with bits and pieces that could have left it bad.
Back in the day, if I'm remembering it right, when Doom was around, if you wanted a story-heavy game, you played games like Ultima.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah, basically.
Well, you just played Daggerfall. Daggerfall is a good game for that.
Well, yeah. Basically, they separated the genres. There were the shooters, which were they had a generic story just to kind of cover anything they need to, and then they have the story-heavy RPGs that are like programming simulators in of their own right to control the damn thing, which is Ultima.
But yeah, let's face it. The way Doom Eternal looks, it's everything that basically that Anita Sarkeesian and her Screeching Harpy Brigade are against. It's a guy with a gun just going in and being a macho son of a bitch.
Spot.
Who is only alive because he's too angry to die.
Spot.
So I don't know about you guys, but I for one think that we should also start hunting parties. Because fun fact for those of you who don't know, in the campaign of the game, you can actually invade other people's campaigns as demons.
Oh yeah, no safe spaces here.
That's awesome. Dude. That's fucking awesome.
Oh yeah.
Speaking of which, Spot, you played Doom 2, right?
I actually never played any Doom game
Oh.
other than the trial for the reboot.
Does anyone here remember Doom 2?
I mean, I
I
played
have
it
a gameplay.
Yeah.
20 years ago.
Okay,
Blab, just to give you an example, the only games I ever played on PC until I actually had a PC, capable of running games, was Oregon Trail and SimCity 2000. That was
Hey, that's solid second.
And how many people did you kill with dysentery?
Spot.
Actually, I made sure my people survived.
I am so sorry for you. To anyone who did play Doom 2, if you remember the final boss, it was
The final boss or the true final boss?
well, the true final boss. If you click through and you found John Ramirez's head on a stick.
Yes.
Like, the thing is,
Yeah.
I know about that.
If they actually go all the way, and there is a final boss, you could do the same thing, and it's a Nita sock. He's in on a stick.
the outcry.
Oh,
I would buy 10 fucking copies. I don't care if I don't have money. I would buy them somehow if they do.
Jesus Christ, man!
And
Don't
there is a
spend
tagline,
billions
I
of
would
all of
even click
ours.
you.
Now, on the note of companies that are doing a good job of being, trying to please the consumer and fan base, I think now would be a good time to bring up the Honeypot Studio devs, or the Honeypot devs.
Okay. All right. For those who aren't aware, the Honeypot development team made a tiny little indie game a few years ago that caused a lot of controversy. You may or may not have heard of it. It was called Honey Pop. Basically, it was a dating game based on Bejeweled that ended up having porn in it.
I'm sorry, I think you mean it's based off Candy Crush. Candy Crush clearly is the better of the two.
No one cares. It's a match 4. But either way, I played it, and I even bought the sequel game, even though there was no porn in it, just to support the dev, because the dev actually interacts with the fan base. It's awesome. Speaking of interacting with the fan base, what they did was they decided to be inclusive with the upcoming girl roster in Honey Pop 2, and they included a trans woman. They asked their fan base if they would be fine with an option to not need to date this one to 100% the game. So basically, a toggle. They're asking if the fans would be okay with a toggle.
You mean?
Well, no, for the optional. And then what ended up happening, about third of the fan base said, I don't want to fuck a tranny in this video game. So they said, okay, beginning of the game, you decide whether or not this character is a boy or a girl, and we change. Of course, I mean biologically. And then we change the game, the story, and the character based on that, which frankly is a pretty great in-between, and I would say does exactly what should be expected of them.
Well, actually, okay, yeah, I only remember the initial question where, they wanted that to be the yes or no to 100% as the toggle. I tried to keep up on that, but I've been busy with work the last couple of days, so...
It wasn't a toggle, it was just yes or no, but, and then they were like, you know what, we're just going to make it so you can toggle whether or not it's a boy or a girl, which is a perfectly great in-between.
Well, which gives all the people that are saying 100% is 100%. If you don't date poly, then it's not 100%.
Yeah, and everyone's happy.
Yeah, but is there a gay option in Honey Pop?
No.
But yes, lesbian.
Well, yes, lesbian, but not obviously you can't date a bunch of guys. No.
So you can't do your Brokeback Mountain fantasies, Ison. I'm sorry to hear that.
This isn't Dream Daddy, and I'm sorry you can't have your Dream Daddy. Though that game exists if you want to go play that, say well.
No,
anyway, moving on. So, yeah, I mean, we've got 2 companies, at least at the moment, are willing to talk to their fan base and appeal to their fan base. They know what the fuck is going on. They know who they're selling to.
They know where the money is at. So.
Exactly. Which makes
wow.
I mean it's heartbreaking for especially Blop and I, because we grew up with a lot of these now AAA devs, and we're like, what the hell happened?
What have they become?
I mean, when we were growing up, EA was released. I mean, yeah, they were a publisher, but they had their own games where they were releasing stuff like, let's see, the Strike series, Jungle Strike, Desert Strike, Urban Strike, a whole bunch of flight simulation games.
Hey, now they have EA Sports.
And you had your awesome EA Sports Challenge Everything logo. And
well, no,
EA Sports. It's in the game.
Everything.
Well, no, it was
policies.
Well, the thing is,
wasn't
this is
EA
before,
behind the Command and Conquer series, kind of?
No, that was a separate studio that they bought.
Westwood Studios, but they were the publishers.
Got it. So they may not be behind it, but they at least brought it to us. They distributed
Sort
it,
of.
so they get a little bit of credit. until Command and
They
Conquer
hacked
4.
the studio.
And then Command and Conquer 4 happened, and, well, they strangled that one in the crib.
Yeah, I think most people stopped giving a shit by that point.
Well, 3 was excellent. We were getting
Anyway.
ready for Command and Conquer Generals 2.
There's only Red Alert.
Yeah.
Everything else
But-
doesn't matter.
But I mean, it's not just EA. There's also actually this also does tie into EA. Most of the problems fucking EA. Good God, Blop! All of our childhood woes are being sucked up by EA because
I'm not listening.
because there's BioWare. A lot of us are familiar with old BioWare titles.
Oh, Knights of the Old Republic 1 and 2.
2 was
One.
Obsidian.
Oh.
We're just waiting for them to pull the plug.
Yeah, 2. Knights of the Republic 2 was done by Obsidian.
The original Mass Effect.
The original Mass Effect was good. 2 was okay.
Okay, I would argue the mechanics and combat from 2 and 3 were better, but the story of 1 was excellent.
It's still one of my most favorite games, dude. It's when I first bought it, I was really blown away by it.
Hot take, I don't have a problem with 3.
Yep. Also,
Okay, 3 was fine until the end where everything
Yeah.
stopped mattering.
and I'm sad in 1 that you can't romance Telly.
We get that in 2, and it makes me happy.
Yeah, they fixed it. They fixed it, but they could have made it better from the beginning.
Well, technically, she's underage in 1. Technically.
Look,
Blue
man,
alien chicks. I'm sorry, that is all.
Like I said, the thing about Mass Effect is I like that world simply because it's like it's a hodgepodge between Star Trek and Star Wars. In that it's basically a loose federation, but the species aren't all just humans with different skin colors, ignoring the Asari. There are actually species that have completely different nutritional and environmental needs.
And on a kind of tangent, it's actually arguable as to what the Asari truly look like. That there is believed to be some potential telepathic change that they look.
Calm down there, Matt Pat.
Yeah, okay.
I know, but it's not wrong. He's not wrong. He's not right. We don't know.
But anyway,
But that's just a theory.
don't even. But yeah, we're going to. Like I said, I like Mass Effect. It was I liked exploring that world. It was a great world to explore.
Yeah.
Guys, how do you feel about what I was saying earlier with regards to the zeitgeist potentially changing now, as in sooner rather than later?
Well, the thing is, I don't think really in terms of the overall gaming audience, I don't think the zeitgeist itself has changed. It's always been about having fun in the game. The problem is the donations and funding that the developers are getting, their zeitgeist has changed. Gamers haven't changed. The industry has.
Who recently actually even involved Anita Sarkeesian? Was it Dishonored 2, I think?
Yeah.
Yeah. Actively getting her involved. What the fuck?
Again, the gamers haven't changed. The industry changed.
I agree with that, but in that sense, the gamers also technically changed because if gaming was still a more niche market where they'd be probably relying more on people like us instead of more normie audience, then they'd probably be changing their tune a lot faster. But since they expanded and included a wider range of people, it's probably not going to hurt them as much as we think it used to. But if people are becoming more and more tired of this, shit shoved down their throat.
Well, the thing is, their biggest sales come from essentially us. The consistent sales.
Yeah, but as you can see, they don't care about. They'll set a franchise on fire,
Which is why it's their loot. That's why the old companies are AAA, with the exception of Nintendo. Ironically,
Well,
despite all their mishaps, they're the only ones still standing.
Well, that's because it's a traditional Japanese company that holds the reins tight on their overseas concerns, whereas Sony kind of lets them do their own thing, which has really fucked over Sony.
Yeah, Seawell's right about that. Look what the fuck happened with No Man's Sky.
It's gotten better.
Sometimes they've had it. Hey, sometimes
dropped that
they
hot
strike
potato.
gold, like with Detroit Become Human. Sometimes they strike gold. Detroit Become Human is actually a pretty great game.
I'm
As far as David Cage games go, yeah, but
okay. I'm
That's
sorry.
awesome.
After watching people play Detroit Become Human, I'm like, what the fuck is this bullshit?
Well, it was beautiful, is what it was.
It's beautiful, but it's interactive cutscene. The game.
Oh yeah,
David
no, it's a
Cage.
David Cage game.
it's a David Cage game, yeah. So
It's not. I don't consider that a real game.
Spartacus, you clearly do not understand art.
I mean, look.
Well, no. Because here's the thing: a game has an implied failure state, and Detroit Become Human has an implied failure state.
Granted, but like it's more of an interactive cutscene than truly a game to me. It doesn't.
Well, it's a game, but it's a game with linear branching stories and multiple endings in which you have a certain limited control over what can happen.
I mean, granted, I'm not the one to talk. Let's face it. The games there was games I used to play. There was basically beat it or die. But at the same time, it's like even though Bob hates this, he called this basically just a cutscene, an interactive cutscene. The Last of Us was more of a game.
Well, again, it all comes down to the quantum dream nature of making games.
I watched on YouTube and I feel that I got a lot from that. It was a movie for me.
And that's the same thing. I actually did play a little bit of Detroit Become Human over at my friend's house, but I don't actually own the game because I don't own a PlayStation. But overall, well, the game, don't get me wrong, it's a David Cage game. It is constrained as fuck. It ultimately does at least have an interesting story, good graphics, and there's at least some level of player decision where the outcomes do drastically change what happens.
Again, I will recognize the artistic value of it, but
Also, I will defer to our games expert. Kaleb, would you like to explain to the folks at home what being a David Cage game entails?
Jason.
okay, all right. A David Cage game has the following things: pretentiousness, more pretentiousness, a too deep for you characters.
You forgot pretentiousness.
Yeah, also more pretentiousness and a convoluted mess of a plot that may or may not make sense in the end, depending on your actions. And
Why are you describing Del Toro's latest movie?
You don't understand art.
Don't ever
Yeah.
put them in the same room.
David Cage is the absolute definition of Billy Aquino, dude.
Press X. Press X to Jason.
Yes, you have to. You don't understand the subtleties of a man yelling Jason as you press X. Desperately. It's the desperation
Actually, the
of
Harrison
the father that you are channeling through by pressing X.
So let me get this straight. David is the culmination of everything Hideo Kojima wanted to be.
Yeah, basically, he wanted to make movies, but he's stuck making games. So his games are movies, essentially.
So yeah, David Cage made games that are basically movies.
But at least Kojima has gameplay on his games. I don't know.
Exactly, that's the weird thing.
And then you have Uwe Boll, who made games from movies, or rather, made movies from games.
We're not going to talk about Uwe Boll. We're not doing Uwe Boll.
And you have, for example, Heavy Rain. You do monotonous stuff like, oh, you're now in control of the girl. Now you gotta go take a shower. You have to press square to open the faucet, the water. You have to rinse yourself.
Like I said, David Cage games are interactive cutscenes. The game.
Guys, give you a heads up. We're at about 35 minutes.
Okay.
Like that's why I like Detroit Become Human. It cuts down a lot of the fat. Like there's a lot of that meaningless shit that overwhelmingly is gone. Like everything else that happens, like everything you analyze, all the things you do, generally have some level of either story effect or sort of like story building. Whereas you don't, you just have shower the game. Or what I love too is that in Heavy Rain tried to be Detroit Become Human, but you couldn't really fail as hard. I just want to, reference. There's a video online you can probably find in which a dude has like a 3-minute chase scene. The guy just takes his hands off his controller, lets the character make every mistake in the chase scene he can, still ends up getting there. There's I think one part of that entire chase scene where you actually need to have your hand on the controller. Whereas, for example, there's an identical one in Detroit Become Human. If you fuck up, fun fact, your character's in the middle of a fast highway and
Pancake.
yeah, pancake bot 9001.
Frogger.
The one thing-
2018 edition.
The one thing I will say I like about Detroit Become Human, they acknowledge sex boxes existing.
Right? It's hilarious. I also you got to admit Connor and the detective. Those two are just great together. Lieutenant Anderson and Connor. It is a buddy cop film in an entire third of the fucking game, and that is amazing.
Okay.
That's why I said, as far as David Cage games go, this one's actually decent.
Right? That's the point.
Beyond Two Souls was so forgettable that I don't even remember anything about the game.
Oh yeah, the game existed.
Except that Willem Dafoe was on it. That's it.
Actually, let's keep the games topic going because I think this is where we're best at stuff we're passionate about. So in that case, we're going to talk about Cyberpunk and CD Projekt Red.
Oh,
How dare you assume their genders, my dude?
Well, considering I only have the 50-50 shot of being right.
Well, I mean, let's be fair. Razorfist already said all that needs to be said about CD Projekt Red.
thus making all of our lives completely redundant.
Pretty much, but let's still talk about it anyways. Look, okay. Witcher 1 was alright. Witcher 2 was acceptable. Witcher 3 was trash. And CD Projekt Red gets a lot of hype because their fans are a bunch of fanboys. Cyberpunk 2077 is at least a decent topic. Like, it's an interesting concept, and I'd probably end up buying the game anyways. But it's not like it's been particularly something that's going to be good to begin with. But you have hope when they actually make a funny remark and then just flop entirely.
Didn't they sell it out to the furries now?
Oh, they caved into them. The thing is, though, Ison, I think when you're from a certain generation, cyberpunk is something that a lot of people have really always wanted to immerse themselves in, because it's something they read about back in the 80s and 90s, and then you had something like The Matrix, which was absolutely revolutionary back in the day.
Oh, same here. That's why I played Deus Ex.
And the prospect of Cyberpunk 2077, which has been in development for how long?
Yes. As long as Star Citizen, probably.
Yeah, probably. So it's really, really appealing, and a lot of hope is resting on it. So this kind of shit is not very constructive, to say the least. And given all the failed hype trains that have fallen off the bridges in recent years, and that, to my knowledge, there's been very little in terms of gameplay footage, unless anyone can correct me on that.
Oh, there hasn't. There basically hasn't been any.
People are creaming themselves over the concept. Other than that,
So
nothing.
that really doesn't lend well to putting one's hope into it.
Well, as Razor said, they were having a lot of development issues.
Yep.
Kaleb, please feel free to join it.
It's a fantastic genre that I would love to play, but I think people are expecting too much out of the final product, and that's gonna be what's gonna let people down. People are expecting too much out of it, and I don't want another Star Citizen kind of situation with Cyberpunk, because I'm kind of fascinated by the whole Cyberpunk genre.
Don't worry, Kaleb. They'll still be funded by people like Blip and Ison, who buy things like Star Citizen, even though it's not finished.
It never will be.
Too, AK. We're working.
It never will be. Never will be.
I mean, I may be stuck in Venezuela for a moment, but at least I didn't pay a single dime to
Get roasted.
Fucking hell, the Venezuelans got one on us.
Technically, I haven't paid a dime towards it yet, technically speaking. And even if I do, I'll just be paying Blip money.
I wanted to also ask Kaleb, have you delved into games like Shadowrun and stuff like that to scratch that cyberpunk itch?
It's something I want to get into, but I don't really have the time right now.
I've run Shadowrun games.
Well, I mean, like, if there's any, not the tabletop so much. I was thinking of the PC games that are on Steam. I played a couple of them.
Look, I poked around with that one. There is a disconnect between Shadowrun, the tabletop, and this game by a mile. And also something else. And also something else that you have to kind of remember with Shadowrun. It's not just cyberpunk; it's also urban fantasy.
It's a mix.
It's both.
Well, do me a favor, Seawall. I mean, can you find any example in which a tabletop did well to with their video game variant? I mean, the closest example is Dungeons and Dragons.
Generally, D&D has had a couple of good games, but that's because it's basically.
But they aren't D&D. That's the problem.
Yeah. Well, also, modern D&D is arguably not D&D.
Yeah, pretty much BattleTech and a couple of the Warhammer games. I can't think of much else.
Arguably, a lot of the more strategy-based games probably have been able to translate very well, but that's about it. I believe Civilization was loosely based off of a couple of strategy-based games from back in the day.
The thing is that a lot of these tabletop-based games like D&D or Shadowrun are hinging upon your imagination, and there's just no way.
Player-driven.
Yes, player-driven. So the developers can only do so much.
One of the few exceptions of a game that's a story-based system. Vampire the Masquerade. That's one of the few examples that was able to pull it off.
I keep hearing about that game.
I keep wanting to get the basically the fan rebuild of it, but.
Yeah, and there are some games that try and capture the light, but even then, there's no game that really captures the spirit of D&D. Like, there isn't, and there will never be. And I'm going to be honest about that one, besides unless you count Tabletop Simulator.
Well, at that point, you have to include Roll20 in that as a virtual tabletop simulator. So anything that involves a tabletop. Yeah.
Sorry, we should probably narrow it down. It's an independent property that's not basically a virtual tabletop game.
Yeah.
Like, Tabletop Simulator is literally a virtual tabletop.
Yeah. But, that's the extent of that. I think that topic's very well covered. Any other games topics on the agenda, Spart? Or we gotta move out to the boring stuff like Venezuela dying?
All we have left is the boring political crap, genocide in South Africa, our political system unraveling, Venezuela becoming a failed state, that kind of stuff.
All right, which one do we want to start with? Kaleb, your call.
And it's up to you guys. If you want to delve into the depressing Venezuela stuff right away, I'm up for it.
Well, all we have left is actually, okay, you know what? No. We could start dipping our toes in. David Hogg getting rebuked for calling out Nancy Pelosi.
I heard a wrecked.
The punchline was only David Hogg.
I will say this again, and I keep saying it. I have no problems if you let me into America, and I will beat the shit out of Debbie Hogg. We're trying to promote gun control when I live in a country that gun control fucked us over. So
that a starving Venezuelan can beat the shit out of David Hogg.
This is President Donald Trump. I want that man as an American now.
Actually, I will tweet him that. Hold on, I'm on the Twitter right now.
So one of these days, we gotta go fund me a campaign to get Kaleb out.
Why do we need to GoFundMe? We'll just use one of the helicopters we're going to use for the commies. And just get him out of there. And just get him out of there.
Yeah. Well, no. What'll happen is, all right, Kaleb, how good's your upper arm strength, right? Because you need to be able to hold onto a rope because we don't want to have any seats. But once we throw off the first commie, we'll give you that seat.
That I can work it. I can work something.
Sweet. You gotta just be able to rope climb. So we're gonna have you hanging over the side of the helicopter.
Yeah. I can get ready for it.
Yep.
All right, that's the plan, folks.
Yeah, boy.
So, David Hogg getting BTFO'd.
Except it really, really didn't, because I was looking at some of the reactions to what he had said, and there seemed to be a lot of comments on the line of, That's really ageist. You mustn't be ageist.
Well, for left wing, that's
Yeah, that was really tame.
Well, no, for left wing attacking itself. Remember, I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah, I know that. But what I'm saying is that usually when they attack themselves,
well, remember they threw a blankist at him, so that's like chemical warfare to them.
they didn't call him a racist yet.
Well, they threw ageist at him,
Ageist, which is probably the tamest of all the terms they've got.
but still, it's still an ist.
It's
Also, they did throw sexist at him too.
Yeah.
Yep.
They threw both at him. It's just they are they're hesitant
maybe-
to attack their own.
maybe I was
They're
reading
testing
into
the
this,
waters.
but some of the response I saw was like, "Don't do that again, David."
Yeah, Blip. He's a darling of the left.
Exactly.
He gets
and I
he
think
gets
they
one
realize they
bad
actually
shot.
need him.
He gets one bad shot before the left dumps him, and he's going to do it again. I know it.
Because what made him famous was him not shutting up.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to
Being a
demand.
loudmouth, vulgar piece of shit who,
He's gonna
honestly,
demand-
I would like to challenge to a duel.
He's going to demand probably revolutionary action. Say that people over a certain age should not be allowed to run for election under the Democratic Party. He's basically going to ruffle the feathers of the neolibs, and they're going to go, shut it down, the Goyim no.
Oi, oi, oi.
Oy vey, Goyim. The Goyim knows.
Shut it down.
Nose. Nose.
Blip, do you feel that tingling in your shekels?
I don't have any because I gave my last one to Sargon.
Hey.
You're Jewish. You don't ever give away your last shekel.
I did.
That's. I think.
And he's not even a filthy half-breed.
Gee.
Or a quadroon for that matter.
Hey,
Yeah,
we're
that's
not talking
right.
about Candace Owens, wait, what? But, yeah, no, just absolutely depressing, just David Hogg existing. Speaking of depression, how about we talk about the depression happening down there in South Africa? There's a transition for the ages.
Ah, thanks.
Depression.
Well, it's not a depression. It's a full-on, government-sanctioned genocide. But
Oh, it's going to be a depression. Give it time. Their economy's going to fail.
It gets better.
Strip whatever's useful, let the rest burn.
Yep.
It gets better. The South African figurehead Julius Malema called President Trump a pathological liar after our glorious God Emperor formally addressed the unfolding seizure of those farms and killing the white farmers.
Some pot calling the kettle black, except the kettle,
Literally
is
is
made of
black.
porcelain for some reason.
So officially,
No, the pot is so dumb, it thought the teapot was a kettle.
Oh,
Damn.
Damn, dude.
it gets better. From the official EFF Twitter account. Be that as it may, we must put it on record unequivocally that Donald, the pathological liar Trump, we are not scared of you and your USA or Western imperialist forces. We are not the generation that's going to kneel at the statue of Western imperialism and accept to live in the dignity of black landlessness. Furthermore, we want to send a strong message to the USA authorities, just like we did to the Australian authorities, stay out of South Africa's domestic affairs. Are they picking
This
a
guy
fight?
wants to die.
See, I was
Boys and
gonna-
girls. Boys and girls.
like, I'm not exactly-
Do you realize now why they've imprisoned Nelson Mandela?
yeah,
They were all nutters.
with a terrorist, so
Yeah,
not
I mean,
surprising. His daughter's even just as bad, if not worse.
His wife is his former wife, who died recently, was venerated by the left, who tortured and killed children,
Yeah,
as you do.
family, set
Look.
people on fire with tires around their necks. What do you know?
Look,
runs in the family, I guess.
one of my favorite stories was the King of the Zulu, a cultural leader, said the blacks were better off under apartheid in South Africa.
Wow, it's all,
Man.
man.
I
Oh,
bet.
I mean-
I bet if it gets bad enough, that guy's gonna say we'll probably say we demand English imperialism again. We were better off under it.
Well, I mean, that's what Zimbabwe did. Please come back, white people. We
Well,
fucked up so
remember,
badly.
well, no, they said please come back and farm, but pay us money to do it. So
Yeah.
it's not a true. It's more of a we want to eat our cake and keep it. Whereas,
Yeah.
whereas if they were really wanting to do the particular, they would say, okay, we're now Rhodesia again, and we're re-implementing all the policies that we got rid of, because apparently we can't fucking lead.
And
That would be a
it's-
reversal.
Yeah, it's
Look, alternatively, what if we just, create a giant PMC, and then our PMC takes over South Africa?
see, we're delving into territory where I'm really terrified of that kind of stuff. Yeah, private military corporations.
Look, all
Because
I'm saying is that a PMC would be a great solution to the problem down there.
I'm not saying it wouldn't be. I have a problem with an entire organization that's loyalty is based on the money you pay it.
Well, that's why you need to make the PMC not only about money, but about the ideas and principles of a soldier themselves. And
Which
then you
can't
name the
happen.
Diamond Dogs, you name their leader Big Boss, and I'll stop.
Ison, would you please step into the showers and take a big, deep breath for us?
No, thank you. And by the way, it's Big Boss too. Thank you very much.
Oh, you want to be the head of the... Okay.
So in general, the ANC, the African National Congress,
Yep.
they selected 150 farms for expropriation before a constitutional amendment. They're just going to take it, no financial compensation, get the hell off the land.
They're claiming they'll give financial compensation, but
No, they're saying they're not giving compensation.
I thought they were going to give 10% of the land's value
No.
based on a shoddy
At least-
survey.
Apparently, at least 139 of them are not getting compensation.
That's a tale I know too well, dude. It's like a repeat of Venezuela.
Hey,
They-
crazy thought. Why don't we take the socialists of Venezuela, send them to South Africa? We take the good people from South Africa, put them in Venezuela, and just see what happens.
You'd have a race war like none other, probably. Saying
Also,
Well, we can
also-
always just
see
repeat
what-
what I said, but for Venezuela.
See, well, I think you fail to understand something in that South Africans, the Boers, are inextricably linked to the land.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they've been farming it for
belong there.
generations.
They've been dealing with murders for several years now, state-sponsored murders,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
yet they still choose to live in incredibly dangerous conditions.
Well, yeah,
'Cause
what is
not-
it? Some of that land has been around. It's been in the hands of the same family since before America was America.
Exactly.
Because these people have a bigger concept of their home instead of just I'm going to take your shit. Surprising.
They through and through see themselves as African, albeit South African, Afrikaner, but you're not getting them out of
Do
there.
you legitimately think we could see another Boer War? But this time it'd be South African forces versus
Well, it would be a civil war of sorts.
but it would probably be called the Boer War.
Okay,
Another
so
Boer War. Yeah, another Boer War, the third Boer War.
I did mention earlier that I was watching a video, and the government and obviously the media are stoking up racial tensions. The majority of people do not see things in a racial form. They don't have antipathy towards the other.
And
How
the
long did that
land and
last?
the land. And if I remember right, the land stuff, it was like less than 1% of the population even considers it an important issue, let alone the most important. It's
Right,
like, it's like a
you've
very
got such rampant corruption from the government who refused to even admit there was an AIDS problem until recently. And then I think it was Mbeki, upon having been forced to admit that there was an AIDS problem, decidedly blamed it on the white population. Well done, lad. Well done. The issue of racial tension, it will increase though if this sort of shit is allowed to continue.
well,
It is inevitable.
It's inevitable every time you keep slamming people together.
and based on the amount of corruption, I mean, Blip, kind of going back to history with the Boer Wars, weren't the English, though they won in the end, didn't they get their ass handed to them by basically a bunch of farmers?
No, they invented concentration camps.
Ah. Yeah, but I remember some of the history of it is in some of the skirmishes and engagements, the British were handily beaten several times.
In perhaps on some occasions. But,
Yeah, but later on, once they used the heavy-handed tactics, of course that would happen. But before that point, do you think we could see something similar happen now if it goes into full open conflict? That the
I
Boers
just
band
pointed out to
together.
you, these are people who will not leave their land.
Yeah.
It is their land. They have gotten it fair and square. They've been there for generations. Why would they leave?
Mm-hmm.
That's a great question.
Also another thing. In terms of farms in South Africa, again, this is based on what I've been reading and watching recently. Is that South Africa is actually quite a difficult climate with which to farm. It's not.
Oh yeah, it requires extensive irrigation.
It requires extensive irrigation because it's quite dry. It is very challenging. So to make an oasis from the desert, as it were, is nothing short of a miracle. And to be able to hold on to that, cultivate it, and feed the nation, as it were, from that.
Yeah,
not only feed the nation, but export excess,
Exactly.
surplus. They're now a net importer of food, and the land is still in the hands of the Afrikaners for the most part.
Right. So that is. I mean, there's not only are they carrying out something that's utterly heinous, but they're shooting themselves in the foot because this is only going to lead to disaster.
Look,
in my view, it will
Zimbabwe
be worse
was bad.
I
South
think this will
Africa's
be
been
worse.
worse.
This will be on a greater scale.
And do you think that the outside world will try to help South Africa, or do you think nations like the U.S. will be able to lead a large enough coalition and just let the nation burn?
I think they're going to go on their own because most nations refuse to even acknowledge there's an issue.
No, I'm not talking about the South African Afrikaners. I'm talking about once the famine hits. Do you think outside nations are going to start sending food aid? Or do you think the U.S. will? Or do you think if the U.S. is in the right place, we will flex our muscles and say, no, they created this mess. They're going to have to live with it.
I don't know. I mean, I am hoping it doesn't come to that. I'm hoping that this can be prevented.
Look, the only way this is going to be prevented is if a large outside force comes in and supplants the South African government, and you know what that's going to cause.
Sure, but what's the alternative? I don't know what the best solution is here. This is.
Look,
This is something-
the best solution
This is something
is
that's never happened in the first place. This is the inevitable downward spiral of a nation that is always the end consequence of when you give commies power.
look. The nation's going to collapse. I wouldn't be surprised
no offense,
if
Kaleb.
yeah.
No.
I wouldn't be surprised if wasn't the name for South Africa before it was South Africa the Orange States?
Oh, no, that's you have a certain area there called Oranje. Let me link them back.
Look, I wouldn't be surprised if it gets bad enough and there is large enough collapse among the cities, because I've got a feeling a lot of the South Africans in the cities, they're going to just leave the country. They're going to just up and leave because they've got no loyalty to it. They've got no pride in it. They're just going to run to the nearest nation that can house them. I think we could potentially see, if the Afrikaners can hold on long enough, a rise of a new South Africa under the control of the Afrikaners.
Yeah, so you had an independent state within South Africa, Orange Free State. I'll link that here.
Yeah.
All right. Thing is, we could get tied down the minutiae of this, but we're low on time, so we're going to move into the Cracker Crunch segment.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, let's have our resident reporter on the ground for Venezuela give us an update. What is happening in Venezuela?
Oh God, where do I even begin, dude?
30 seconds. You have 30 seconds.
This week has been quite of a mess with a new currency change, and on top of that, a fucking quake. Thankfully, nobody was died or there were no major damages or anything. But we are in kind of a brief calm period before hyperinflation kicks in and kicks us in the nuts very hard. because everything's right now adjusting to the new currency, and the government is trying to control prices. But yeah, that hasn't worked, and it's not gonna work now. It's gonna be a mess, man.
Would you like us to send you food?
If possible, if you want, I managed. Back when my mom was alive, I opened a PO box in Florida to receive some meds, but it takes some time to arrive. But for the time, I'm fine with food. No worries. My meat dealer has already delivered some stuff, and you can still find things. But
Keep your head down.
Oh, you
Good
do
luck
have a
out there.
Patreon.
Sorry?
You do have a Patreon.
Yeah, that's the only reason I'm able to buy food right now here, dude.
So if you, any of you find in your heart that are listening to send a poor Venezuelan a little bit of cash, head over to Kaleb's Patreon, give him $1 or $2.
I mean,
A poor Venezuelan who's been on Fox News.
yeah, I'm on Fox News for radio, my dudes.
Excellent.
And with all my dude stuff, I guess he's the Venezuelan Dr. Lehman now.
Yes.
But then, dude, I mean, things are just an absolute disaster here, and I don't know. I'm just trying to pack my things and go. And
We wish you the best of luck.
Yeah, I'm trying to migrate legally, but it's not really that easy. It's a fucking bureaucratic nightmare.
I'd
And I'm in the
recommend
middle-
avoiding Brazil. Apparently, there are roving gangs of Brazilians who are attacking Venezuelans right now.
Yeah.
Colombia might be the better option.
Maybe, but it's a bit tricky right now.
If you get thirsty, you can always have a Coke.
It's a
Anyway.
it's a bit of a mess, dude. I mean,
All right, so Keck or cringe, gentlemen. I've got 4 things right now.
Keck.
Okay, you want Keck? All right, I got Keck. I got 2 things of Keck. So we remember the intern that told the NASA intern who told the guy from the Space Council to suck my dick.
Oh yes, dude. Oh my god.
Well, the guy cucked.
Well, it gets better. NASA fired the intern.
Yeah, and he's cucking to try and get her job back.
Yeah, but this also made it to the news. This
Yeah, it
story.
made it to the news.
Yeah.
Like big. I mean, not just stuff like Breitbart, but
Yeah.
Actual news.
And what else is funny about that? It wasn't the intern that got the attention of NASA. It was one of his friends who started doing hashtag NASA fuck you NASA council member.
Oh,
So the personal army backfired.
that's the funniest thing is, it was an army of furries.
Yeah, you shouldn't let furries go into space.
You
No.
see, Spark, this intern could have been one of the newest recruits for the Space Force.
No,
I don't think-
our recruits of the Space Force are going to be a
Well,
combination of Marines, Navy, and Army.
Well, it depends on the persona because we've already had a monkey and a dog in space.
Except they
You might
didn't
as well
come
have
back
the rest
down.
of the trainees.
I see we repeat the process.
Oh,
Next one in space will be Dragon. Possibly Tiger.
All right, so okay, I have another one. I found this tweet from Ian Miles Chong.
I'm liking this.
Here we go.
So, apparently, the Hugo Awards. Anybody who's familiar, that's that's a sci-fi, literary, and fiction literary award.
It used to be voted on by the fans, then it went hyper-political SJW, then there was the sad puppies versus rabid puppies thing, which made it a total shit show, and now it's basically, I think they have a token vote, but it always goes to the same SJW authors.
Actually, you're more right than you know, because this woman just won for the 3rd time in a row. Black woman. And here's the headline: the Hugo Awards just made history and defied alt-right extremists in the process. So, here's the subheading: N.K. Jemison's 3rd consecutive win in the Hugo Awards repudiates extremist voters who spent years trying to keep her from winning. Ian Miles Chong's take. Those alt-right extremists, parentheses, who can't be very effective if this woman keeps winning the same award every year for 3 years in a row.
Jesus, it's like being in North Korea. Evil imperialists.
And
Can't stop
apparently-
power. Go on.
Apparently they're saying that they're all more marginalized and don't have a say in anything. And he goes on to say,
3 times in a row.
and then he goes, he basically says, please explain this logic to me. How are you marginalized if you're winning every award and securing every position in the industry?
Gotta catch 'em all.
Oppression.
Good intro.
No, but I mean, the whole Hugos are a fucking mess, man. I'm trying to publish a novel. I'm working on a fiction novel right now, but I know, I don't have a chance to winning Hugos. I have no interest in winning them anyway. So.
Well,
You're
I'm a
from
straight white
brown
man.
country, so you have a chance, and you're
Yeah,
a
you-
commie.
Yeah, but I'm not the right kind of minority for them. So
Oh, right, you're not brown enough.
Yeah, bro. Yeah, and my politics don't lie with them. So.
Oh, that's another good point. I mean, I've been kicking around, honestly, like Tolkien-esque length novel series in my head, but
They'll probably start digging my pro-Trump tweets and I'm not even gonna bother to.
all right. Next thing I have, I know we're not going to talk about the original subject itself, but we're going to talk about the principal actor in the thing. So, Molly Tibbet's killer. We're not going to talk about the actual event. We're going to talk about him. Because apparently he is on record as demanding he not be called an illegal alien.
Fuck you.
Wait, what?
Okay, this is what you do. You get a couple of good old boy
Hold on,
sheriffs.
let me explain. Are you familiar with the news story about Molly Tibbetts?
I know that she was killed, but that's as far as that
She was killed by an illegal alien. The guy that killed her is now demanding not to be called an illegal alien.
Even though that's the legal term for him.
So what does he want to be called?
That is a good question. Let me scroll down.
Probably an document. Probably American.
Well, his lawyer said he is an all-American boy.
Well, he's
Wait. So I can call that lawyer and say I identify as an American. I get my
well, okay. So this guy,
Hang on a second. But I thought America was never that great. So why would you want to be called an American?
so
I mean,
Make up your mind, left.
Blip. I'm giving you a 3 on the mental gymnastics. There, you gotta get up. You got to get to the Olympic level gymnastics. Come on,
so
man.
apparently
I believe
this
it.
guy's attorney is seeking a gag order to prevent the government from referring to the accused killer as an illegal alien or illegal immigrant, claiming he has legal status in the U.S. Federal immigration officials, and among other things, they have no records of this guy existing.
Dude, I used to work at an embassy. If you don't have any proof that you don't have a legal residency, you are an illegal alien. It doesn't change anything. That's how how
Wait.
international law applies, dude.
Wait, there's no record of him ever existing, did you say, Spark?
At least not in the U.S. The U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services Agency. They said search of federal records reveals that he does not have a lawful immigration status. They have no records of him in any immigration system.
If he doesn't even have a stamp on a passport that says he entered it and a visa, then he's illegal, dude.
Caleb, we're going to need to borrow that helicopter because no one's going to miss this guy.
Apparently, he has no DACA requests, no grants, no records in their system.
He's a ghost in the machine. He doesn't exist.
Jesus.
So therefore, he's an unperson. Therefore, we can kill him and not be accused of murder.
Exactly. It's not a citizen.
Look, guys. I have an idea. We get a couple of good old boy sheriffs. They escort him out back
Clark.
for a couple hours. They bring him back, and I'm sure he's going to start calling himself an illegal alien when they're done.
Okay, so furthermore, and this has apparently been a gotcha for lefties. Apparently, he worked on a farm that was run by a Republican, but apparently, according to the records, he used a stolen or fake ID because he didn't work under his own name, and a fraudulent Social Security card.
Oh my god, dude.
So this guy is committed, not including the murder, but basically violation of being here, multiple identity theft, lying to federal agencies, God knows how much fraud. Otherwise, should we even waste the money sending him back? Because 45 caliber rounds are pretty cheap.
Yeah, we gotta send him back. There's this whole thing called natural rights. It kind of sucks, but you gotta go with it.
We never signed those documents. U.S.
No,
government does not recognize
new
them.
document. Part of the foundation of our country.
Technically, Constitution only applies specifically to citizens.
To
Yes,
US
it's not
citizens.
Well, no, but there's the founding principles of our nation on natural rights.
Yeah,
If it
but the
comes
letter of
to
the law
that-
is all that matters. The spirit of the law is something that's nice to have, but if it's letter or spirit, you choose the letter.
Yeah. But if it comes to that, he's just gonna cling to his Mexican or whatever nationality he's from, and he's gonna claim that Vienna Convention protects him, blah 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 blah, and he gets deported.
U.S. never signed it. We're not bound by it.
Really?
Yeah,
Yeah,
but here's the
yeah.
thing: do you really want to deal? Do you really want to deal with the hand wringing and the noise from the UN and their strongly worded letter? I think it's better to just send him back and then weld shut the border and make sure he can never get in.
It does get better.
Why would we care what the UN thinks?
Ison, this is
No,
the
it's
response
just
letter.
it's annoying.
Okay, we're
politics
not,
now.
we're not bringing this argument up again.
Yeah.
Although I will say this, it is confirmed he is from Mexico.
Yeah.
So, just saying.
He's gonna do that.
So one more thing I'm going to bring up before I open the floor for anyone else that has kick or cringe. So Jim Carrey's trying to be a painter. Yeah, I know. Some of his more recent pieces of art involve Trump being hung from an American flag
Edgy.
and Trump being burned at the stake with the caption "witch" across it.
Dude, how will he ever recover now?
Okay, guys, Trump has been calling this shit a witch hunt for how long? Why are you proving him right?
Here's the thing, dude. He should be glad and happy he has the freedom to do that kind of stuff. Because if I do that shit here, dude, I would get jailed for the rest of my life.
Assuming that you don't disappear behind the prison with a couple of guards.
Basically, yeah. Or they would send me to the tomb, which is this kind of hidden facility they have for the intelligence service that they apply white torture and a bunch of other shit to people.
So yeah, apparently he's produced dozens of pieces of artwork over the past year that depict violence against Trump.
I mean, he should be happy to be an American citizen that has the freedom to do that, dude.
Actually, at a certain point, that could be argued as incitement.
Probably, I don't know.
Look, the more you do it, there's a certain point where even the federal authorities go, bro, look, it's art, you're doing art, but at this point, we gotta put the cuffs on you.
Yeah, because
Okay, so let's see, what else is there? The American flag. His sons, Eric and Donald Jr., being mauled by an elephant.
oh my god, dude.
He did at least do that one where he showed the fact that, the United States missile was used to strike a bus full of 40 innocent Yemeni children. I mean, the fact that no one's talking about that is kind of bullshit.
Nah, I'll give you that. And March 19th of this year, he posted one where he took Donald Trump, painted his face green, put a witch hat on him, and called it the Wicked Witch of the West Wing and Putin's Flying Monkeys. So,
At least there was a Harry Potter reference in there somewhere.
I'm pretty sure there has to be one.
no, it's not Harry Potter. It's Wizard of Oz.
Okay, quick question. Hasn't Trump imposed some of the harshest sanctions in U.S. history against Russia? That is going to lead to probably not just a recession, but a full-on depression in Russia?
Don't forget, he's also the Nazi that deported a Nazi.
I know, how dare he?
I really.
Look, that Nazi
I'm not a
story
fan of that
annoys me.
decision.
Look, the dude is 94 years old. he's pretty much at death's door. No nation wanted him. Can we just say, look, just sit in your little. We're gonna put an anklet on you. Don't leave your house.
Yeah, just chill, just chill.
Just please. And if you're gonna die, give us a call so we know to pick your body up.
Yeah, I wasn't a fan of this decision or the bunch of the other decisions that have been going through the White House about, especially with the firing of staff this week, just to appease people that said, "Oh, this person might be somewhat associated as this unsavory character." Like, all right, they get fired from the White House staff. It's pointless. It's meaningless. It's just a big fat virtue signal.
Though I will say this though, AK, having travelled and stayed in the US quite a number of times, one of the things I had to fill in the form was at any point between the years 1933 and 1945, did you fight for the German forces against the United States? And that determines whether you can come into the country or not.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's still in existence, but I remember...
There are very few people left that fought against the U.S. at this point.
Yeah, no kidding. Most of them are dead.
Yeah.
So I heard it was technically illegal to be a commie in the U.S. at one point. I'm surprised it was like that for.
Well, okay, look, the guy did break the law. He lied about his status as part of, I believe it was, he was I believe it was a camp guard, so that means he was SS.
Yeah.
At minimum, potentially. Though at certain points, I wouldn't be surprised if they used the Wehrmacht when they didn't have as many SS personnel. But look, at this point, the dude is in his 90s. He doesn't have any family. He's basic. We've tried deporting him in the past, and no nation wants him. So at this point, I'm saying, okay, look, we're going to put an anklet on you. Just sit here and pass away in peace. We'll leave you alone.
Yeah.
You leave us alone.
Have a CP, watch some TV, and good night.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thing is, that if we go back to the timing and everything of how old he was going to be, he's probably just got enlisted in the draft and got stuck as a prison guard.
It's entirely possible. Yeah.
Yeah. So he's basically just working he's just doing his government or nation sanctioned duty during a war.
Well, not only that, but just kind of quickly go into history. It wasn't just Germans who were fighting in the Wehrmacht. There were.
We're getting lost in the reeds again.
There were Eastern Europeans and also, weirdly enough, 3 Korean guys.
We are getting lost in the reeds again.
Yeah.
So we just think, it's just a dumb decision that essentially it doesn't add up to anything.
But anyway, one last thing. This was brought up before the show started, so we're going to do one last thing and then we're going to wrap it up. Crunchyroll, all the subscriptions,
Cringe.
I am pirating anime from now fucking on. I
never stopped.
I did stop because I'm a principled individual when it comes to the market, but I'm going back to being a pirate. I'm a level with you. There's no good reason now for
if you want to support you should be buying DVDs and shit.
Yeah.
That's if you really want to support the anime industry, or giving them like Studio Trigger, submit to their Patreon.
I'm the person that I'm a member as well. I can't really pay for that kind of stuff right now. You're begging for money, but I'm the kind of person that believes that if a service is good and it's worth paying for, if you make it worth paying for, then yeah, that's fine. You can pay your subscription and just. But Crunchyroll is a fucking piece of shit.
Yeah.
That crashes all the time.
Yeah.
And this is what they are spending their money on. I mean, instead of improving their service, instead of getting more, opening up more your catalog of licensed anime, getting to a broader audience, getting more money. No, you decide to fund basically the Steven Universe of anime
Your-
God damn it,
The
dude.
original business model was to bring anime to U.S. citizens. What the hell are you doing? And then
Yeah.
I didn't even know. Like I kept hearing about the video player for Crunchyroll being a piece of shit. And I didn't even know that somebody had just freely made an HTML5 version of it on Google Chrome's extensions for free. And yet they still can't seem to fix their player. And yet they push their money towards this crap.
Well, it's not just that. I mean, I follow on Twitter and on YouTube a fellow named Raging Golden Eagle.
Oh, he's great.
But the thing is, this isn't the first time Crunchyroll's done this kind of leftist bullshit. There was a few months ago they sponsored the English release of a game based on an anime from Don Machi. Is it wrong to pick up girls on the dungeon?
Mm-hmm.
Where they had the program, the game censored on their call, and when called out on it, they basically said we decide what's appropriate for the audience.
Damn,
Yeah.
And everybody was like, "What?"
I'm gonna make it a personal goal to get blocked by Crunchyroll over the next
Yeah.
week.
I wouldn't mind getting blocked by Crunchyroll either, and all the fuck sticks that are.
And their PR guy Miles, but I don't remember
Yeah.
the rest of his name right now.
The function in question was it was basically one of those, it's a gotcha game. You roll for characters, you go through, you spend stamina, do little missions, gain experience, level up, whatever. The function they took out was touching your characters, tapping on the screen to touch the characters. Minor thing, but they took it out because they felt it was inappropriate for Western audiences.
Oh god.
Yeah,
Oh, don't worry, guys. Right wingers are the real prudes.
Last time I checked, didn't Japan have some pretty draconian laws regarding pornography?
It
They
wasn't.
Yeah.
It wasn't. It wasn't.
They still. Well, it's
I know
they still do censor their porn, don't they?
Yeah, they do.
Yeah. So Japan censored porn. USA, we don't. It's pretty much the fucking Wild West out there. And yet, us being able to poke a character on a screen, which probably what would it do to like a generic animation or something whenever you did it?
Well, facial animation and a response.
I'm presuming fairly generic.
Fairly generic, varying from "what are you doing" to "tee-hee" to "not now."
So generic.
Yeah, very generic.
And they think that's too hot for the West.
There's a reason why Honey Pot Studios has money.
Yeah, look, I know you guys are gonna do your whole boycott thing. I'm kind of stuck with Crunchyroll just due to what I'm doing in my life right now. Due to certain things, I can't exactly go and do what you guys are considering, allegedly considering.
Okay.
So I'm a
Do
little
what you
stuck
gotta
with that.
do,
Yeah.
Sewell. Do what you
And
gotta
the thing
do.
is, even though I don't like what Crunchyroll's doing, I would prefer that a little bit of my money go to something I don't like, and that the rest of the money go back to the original creators.
The thing
But
is,
it doesn't. Like it's a pittance, and it's what goes to creators because they got to divide up your $11 or whatever between any and all anime you might watch.
And here's the thing: who else is doing these dubs? These subs. Who else is doing it?
Fans, parasites.
Legally.
Okay, well the thing is that if you got an illegal option where the people are able to innovate a lot, illegal option where people are innovating a lot.
Okay,
Guys,
to keep it simply, I do not have that option. Period. Let's go with that. I don't.
He
have
doesn't
that
have
option.
the option. Let's drop
Yeah.
it. Okay.
I don't have that option. Period.
but yeah, apparently Funimation's not that bad. I think there's one or two more trying to start up, but obviously
Funnily enough, Amazon Prime has some pretty good anime.
yeah, but it's Amazon.
Netflix has been doing pretty good with their animes as well.
It's touch and go.
That's
Seven Deadly
a
Sins
problem
was
that-
the first season of Seven Deadly Sins was good. I haven't seen the second
Besides,
season.
here's a
And,
kicker cringe. We'll end on this one. Chelsea Handler is working on a air quotes here funny Netflix series about white privilege.
Hey.
And on that note, we're ending this.
All right.
Yep.
Yeah.
First, let's of course have our guest plug his content, though. Is that all right, Spart? Sorry to.
Of course it is.
Caleb.
What up?
Caleb, you can go ahead and chill for yourself.
Well, I don't really like chilling for myself, but if you would like, you can check my website, ckaleb.com. I know I've just started it, trying to write some articles about Venezuela, video games, and all that other stuff. I'm also working on my sci-fi project novel that should be releasing in a few months. I'm almost done. And writing it in English, so I'll have to find an editor and all that shit. And well, if you can, if it's not a problem to you, you can always check out my Patreon and throw me a buck or two. It goes a long way here, and
Okay.
because yes, yeah, because I don't have any way to give rewards or anything. You know, I will always be there, eternally grateful. I will always be there if you need help or anything. And at the end of every month, I always post my expenses report so people know exactly what I'm using their money on, which is basically food and meds at this point.
You also accept Bitcoin.
We'll put links
yeah.
in the video description.
For only $1 a month, you can save this poor Venezuelan boy.
Obviously, he's underage. His beard isn't 3 feet long yet.
No, but besides money, what I need right now is information. So if you have any information that could help me figure out a way to migrate legally, I have a brother who's disabled. After my mom died in March, he's under my care. So trying to migrate legally with somebody that's already over 21, and it's not your son, is a fucking bureaucratic nightmare. But if you know somebody, or you happen to have any information that can, help me solve this out, that would really help me out.
All right, yeah, we'll put links in the description. But yeah, so another episode down, gentlemen. From my left to my right, closing thoughts. Ison.
I just gotta say, Venezuela sounds like a great place to have a good real life version of PUBG or Fortnite. What would you say to that, Caleb?
Yeah, man, that could definitely work here.
Isn't that already ongoing?
Basically, yeah.
Or am I thinking of Fallout? Or am I thinking of Fallout?
Same diff.
A cross up between the two. I mean, at this point, bottle caps are worth more than a Bolivar, so yeah.
Although apparently at the moment it's mostly melee only.
And actually, now that I mentioned bottle caps, Coca-Cola and Pepsi had this campaign, like, if you donate your bottle caps, we will donate money for cancer. But the whole thing was just to get bottle caps back to recycle them, because just to save money. And like, Jesus Christ.
Yep.
Blop, closing thoughts.
Doom Guy has been confirmed to be Alex Jones.
Earth is the melting pot of the universe.
Holy fuck.
Coming for you, globalist.
Ah!
My that Sargon video was beautiful. Seawall?
To all of you out there, good night and good luck.
Caleb, and closing thoughts on the topics of the night.
And I just want to say, socialism, dude, not even once.
Socialism's a hell of a drug.
Yeah, no, not even once, my dude. Not even once.
AK, closing thoughts.
Fuck you, Crunchyroll, and all the little parasites that shell for it. Looking at you, Mother's Basement. Fuck you.
And on my end, thank God not everything is owned by EA. That's all I have to say. With that, good night and fuck off.
Ah, fuck, no.